Hi, this is Mike Rounds, and I'd like to welcome you to OSHA Safety Awareness Training. You're probably wondering why you're seeing a cartoon caricature of me. It's not because I'm ugly and my mother dresses me funny, although that might be true. It's because when you attend my training, you're going to see a lot of me for a lot of hours. So for the time being, I'd like you to see some of the material that you're going to be experiencing during the program. Oh yeah. Please try not to fall asleep, and if you do, please try not to snore. It disturbs the people around you. Let's get real. Safety awareness training can be dry and boring, but it doesn't have to be. So what I've done is created a series of programs that are interesting, interactive, entertaining, and very informative. It's the kind of program that people rate as a 10 out of 10 and recommend it to other people, especially if I bribe them with lots of chocolate candy. So let's say this another way. Safety itself is a combination of common sense and some specific guidelines. With OSHA, we've defined the most commonly violated areas of safety and established some rules and guidelines for keeping yourself safe in unsafe conditions. The OSHA outreach training is supposed to emphasize hazard identification and avoidance control and prevention, not OSHA standards. So in my training programs, I cover all the OSHA requirements and give references that people can look up on their own time. But I spend the bulk of my time giving practical examples and doing interactive exercises that help people to learn about the safety concerns being addressed and how to avoid the problems connected with them. So what are we going to cover? Well, first of all, we're going to tell you all about OSHA. Then we're going to show you how to manage safety and health. We're going to talk about fire prevention, materials handling, hazard communications, ergonomics, fall protection, electrical safety, and a whole lot more. We're going to address a combination of business and personal awareness concerns. Why? Because we bring many of the unsafe behaviors from our personal life into our business environment, and vice versa. If you're not doing things safely at home, you'll get injured and won't be able to work. Duh! You're about to become safety wizards, and you'll be able to dazzle your friends, amaze your coworkers, and scare small children with what you know about safety. Our purpose in this training is to acquaint you with the different areas of safety concern so that you and your employees will recognize them and know how to interact with them safely. So, let's bring back common sense. Yeah, we talk about common sense, but whatever happened to it? What's happening in our world? When we start posting signs like this, it makes you wonder what's happened to common sense and taking responsibility for keeping ourselves safe. Now, here's a quick quiz for you. What do the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Yellow Pages, and the OSHA manuals all have in common? Answer: they're all available instantly from your smartphone. No paper required. Albert Einstein was once being interviewed by a reporter who ran out of time. He asked Dr. Einstein if he could call him, and Dr. Einstein responded yes. Dr. Einstein then reported to walk to the phone book and look up his phone number for the reporter. The reporter was shocked and said, "Dr. Einstein, you're the smartest man in the world. Why would you have to look up your..." Dr. Einstein replied, "Why should I fill my mind with things that I don't need to know when I know how to find them if I need them?" The same is true for OSHA materials. Although you may need all the reference materials and indexing for a particular situation, there's no practical reason for you to try and memorize all of the elements and their index numbers when they're as close as your smartphone. So the materials for this program include a student workbook with references, selected handouts, and when you have successfully completed the program, an OSHA-issued pocket card certifying that you have completed the training as specified. Here's an example of what the OSHA material looks like, whether you're reading it in a paper manual or looking at it on your smartphone or tablet. OSHA has created some extremely comprehensive reference materials that are written in everyday language and easy to understand. Everything has a numeric index, plus when you use your smartphone or tablet, you can use the integrated search box to find whatever you want very rapidly. Everything you want to know can be found at www.osha.gov. For example, this is the home page of their site, and you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner that there's a search box. As noted on the screen, we really need to get real about the amount of paperwork that we keep around our offices, because OSHA is a federal agency, and there's probably well over 100,000 pages of reference material, including guidelines, tips, tricks, and safety updates. Plus, since it's a dynamic rather than a static agency, there's always a lot of updates. That's why the web-based access is a lot more practical, since you have access to anything that you need in the palm of your hand whenever you need it. Throughout the program, we'll be looking up and referencing the OSHA standards to make sure that you know where and how to find them, and more importantly, that you understand what they mean and can readily apply them to your business and personal life. Okay, since this appears to be relatively easy, how come safety always seems to be an afterthought? The really practical answer is because unless you're a dedicated and designated safety officer or safety specialist, it's not your primary job responsibility. Or maybe, just maybe, it should be. OSHA really does make a difference. For as dramatic as the statistics are, compliance with OSHA rules, regulations, and guidelines show that worker deaths in America are down an average of about 38 workers per day in 1972 to 12 in 2013, and the accident injuries and illnesses are down from 10.9 incidents per 100 to 3, and that's a lot of change. That's 68% less deaths and 72% fewer injuries. So let's get real about OSHA. It works. So let's see what this is all about. Now, this is what I call Mike's list of things to remember about the OSHA training. Over my years in industry, I discovered that there's some things that cause companies and individuals to do unsafe things. I made a list of things to remember about the OSHA training because this is what we're trying to impart and make a part of your life. OSHA safety is a combination of common sense and federally developed guidelines. The objectives of this specific OSHA training program is to make you safety aware so that you recognize unsafe working conditions and take personal initiative to correct them, or notify the appropriate people to have them corrected, or take your own personal initiative to work within the unsafe conditions in a safe manner. Incidentally, if you're taking an OSHA 30 certification class, the objectives are the same, but they also include the responsibility for training others in your organization about OSHA safety objectives and how to work safely within their guidelines. One important thing to note as we get started, I know that a lot of people get really antsy about having to memorize a lot of rules, regulations, guidelines, and specific numbers and references. Don't worry about it. The purpose and objective of this training is not to turn you into a walking encyclopedia of OSHA rules, regulations, and guidelines. Okay, please keep that in mind. What's intended is to make you more safety aware at both home and work. Remember what we said earlier. Everything that you need to know about OSHA for any specific or detailed reference, rules, regulations, forms, etc. are available at www.osha.gov, and they can be accessed from a smartphone, tablet, laptop, or computer. Now let's look at some practical realities. The primary reasons why OSHA safety guides are not implemented and followed are time and money. Individuals and companies suddenly discover that it takes extra time to do something safely, and since time equates to money, they choose to do things in an unsafe manner. For example, an individual knows that they should get a ladder to change a light bulb, but that'll take too much time to walk back to the storage area, get the ladder, bring it back, change the light bulb, and return the ladder. It's much quicker and, of course, much more dangerous to put a chair on the table and reach the light bulb. If the project goes smoothly and you don't fall off and hurt yourself, you'll think that it's okay to put a chair on the table, even though it's inherently dangerous. When it comes to leverage in the workplace, OSHA has financial leverage over employers. What this means is that if OSHA conducts an inspection or an employee files a report about unsafe working conditions and OSHA verifies that the conditions are unsafe, they have the power to levy fines against the employer. A very special note is that employees may file anonymous reports about safety violations without fear of reprisal or recrimination by their employers. What this means is that if an employee sees or experiences unsafe conditions in their place of employment, they can blow the whistle anonymously on the employer, and OSHA will respond with an inspection team and potential fines if the situation warrants it. The employee does not have to directly identify themselves to OSHA, and their name does not have to appear on the violation report. One of the primary reasons why individuals ignore safety guidelines is defined as the INA factor, which stands for ignorance and arrogance. This is where the individuals and organizations are ignorant of the potential hazards, dangers, and consequences involved in unsafe actions and conditions, and are arrogant about their ignorance. Consequently, they ignore the proven safety guidelines and live with the consequences. For example, let's think about standing on a chair to change a light bulb. You may have done this all your life and never fallen off the chair. Consequently, you're ignorant of the potential hazards, and when somebody says that you should really go get a ladder, you get arrogant about your ability to change the bulbs by standing on the chair and ignore the advice. Of course, if you fall off the chair, you'll have to live with the consequences, but because you're ignorant about the potential danger and arrogant about your method for changing the bulb, you proceed to do it. One of the reasons why I talk about safety in the home as well as the workplace is that a significant number of industrial safety oversights and unsafe behaviors result from learned unsafe behaviors from our outside experiences and duplicating them in our work environment. Using the chair and light bulb scenario, this is something that people usually learn at home from their parents or siblings. When they show up at work and the light bulb needs to be changed, rather than getting a ladder, they reach for the chair and do the same unsafe thing in the work environment that they do in the home environment. It's important to recognize that in today's society, our work and personal lives are closely intertwined, and the safety aspect of one translates readily to the other. And last but not least, many of the dangerous actions we observe or engage in and think are funny and not life-threatening come from the movies and cartoons, where they're treated as comedic with no serious consequences. Throughout this program, we'll show you a lot of incidents, accidents, and situations where people have been injured and it appears to be funny. As a scripted, orchestrated stunt performed by paid professional stunt people, it may be okay. In real life, when one of these incidents occurs, there is at a minimum severe pain and potentially debilitating injuries and in some cases death. Although it may be fun to laugh at somebody falling off a ladder, the reality says the person that falls is going to be injured, and that's what we're really trying to stop with the OSHA training programs. And by the way, that doesn't mean that you should stop watching Roadrunner cartoons. Okay, so now having said all that, let's get started with our formal introduction to OSHA.